Under the hot summer sun of a small southern town, a boy with quick hands and restless feet was already thinking about bigger things. He didn't talk much about dreams, he let his fists do the talking. His name? Tony Canzoneri. And by the time most kids were still figuring out what they wanted to be, Tony was already trading leather for money in the boxing ring. From the dusty roads of Slidell, Louisiana to the busy streets of Brooklyn, Canzoneri moved like a man chasing something. Not fame, not glory, just a chance, a shot. By the time he was 18, New York called him a prize fighter. The census didn't lie, he was already in the game, already proving himself in smoky halls and crowded arenas, where you earned your respect one round at a time. He fought often, sometimes 3 or 4 times a month, barely letting the bruises fade. That's just how it was back then. The action never stopped, especially not in New York, the heart of boxing. Canzoneri almost never had to leave the city opponents came to him. He was part of a time when fighters stayed busy, when you didn't wait for opportunities, you punched through them. His very first pro bout was in July 1925, a win over Jack Gardner. Not long after, he stood under the lights of Madison Square Garden and made a little history. He claimed to have scored the first knockout in the brand new arena, putting Danny Terrace on the canvas before Christmas that year. Some say he lived on Staten Island, others argue otherwise. But where he lived doesn't matter as much as where he fought. And he fought everywhere that counted. Tony Canzoneri wasn't just another boxer. He was the kind of fighter who showed up, gloves laced, chin tucked, and ready to work. In a world that demanded toughness, he didn't need to say much. He let the sound of his punches fill the silence. They said the kid never stopped moving, always a bounce in his step, always looking for the next opening, the next name to cross off the list. Tony Canzoneri wasn't loud, didn't need to be. He had a way of walking into a ring like he belonged there, even when the odds were stacked against him. Especially then, you could feel in the air the night he went up against Benny Bass. No flash, no show, just 2 men, 15 rounds, and a world title hanging in the balance. When it was over, Bass was beaten, and Tony had his first crown, the world featherweight title. Just like that, the climate started. But Canzoneri didn't hang around the featherweights for long. Defended the belt once, then looked up the hill and saw a bigger fight. He went after Sammy Mandel for the lightweight title and came up short on the cards. Most would have taken a step back. Not Tony. He watched and waited. Not for long. Mandel got caught cold in the first round by Al Singer. Lights out, title gone. Canzoneri had already beaten Singer before clean, over 10 rounds, so when they met again, there was no hesitation. This time, it didn't go past the first. 1 round, 1 shot, new champ, 2 divisions down. That should have been enough. For most, it would have been. But Tony was built different. He didn't just want belts, he wanted the best. Next came Jack Kid Berg, the light welterweight champ. Berg put his title on the line. Tony put up his lightweight crown. It was more than a defense. It was a war with history waiting at the finish. They didn't need the full distance. Just 3 rounds. Berg hit the canvas, and Tony Canzoneri stood tall, now a world champion in 3 divisions. 3 weight classes, 3 titles, 1 fighter. A rare club that only a few ever joined, names like Barney Ross and Henry Armstrong. Tony was right there with them. This wasn't luck. This wasn't timing. It was just a fighter who never stopped moving, never stopped pressing forward. Canzoneri didn't wait for the moment. He made it happen. There was a time when it felt like Tony Canzoneri couldn't be stopped. He had belts on his shoulders, power in both hands, and a rhythm in the ring that made opponents guess when they should have been swinging. But every fighter, no matter how sharp, runs into someone who doesn't play by the usual rules. Johnny Jadek wasn't supposed to be that guy. Not the one to take a title from a fighter like Canzoneri. But he did. Not once, twice. 2 losses that stung, not just because of the outcome, but because of who it came from. Canzoneri had beaten bigger names, harder hitters, but Jadek had his number. Still, even as the light welterweight belt slipped away, Tony held onto his lightweight crown with a tight grip. Billy Petrol came for it. So did Frankie Petrol. Both walked away empty-handed. Then things shifted again. Jadek dropped the title to Battling Shaw, and the opening reappeared. Canzoneri didn't waste time. He stepped right back into the picture, keeping his lightweight title around his waist while going after Shaw's. It was the kind of move only a fighter with guts and confidence would make, taking a shot at becoming a 2-division champion again. And he pulled it off, went the distance, and walked away with both belts once more. Just like that, he was back on top. But boxing doesn't slow down for anyone. Up next was Barney Ross. Sharp, smart, tough as they come. Their fight was more than just another title defense. It was a clash between two masters, both with something to prove. When the final bell rang, Ross got the edge. And with that, Canzoneri lost both titles in one night. They ran it back. 15 rounds this time. Another decision. Another win for Ross. For Canzoneri, those weren't just losses, they were turning points. He'd tasted the top, fallen, and come back before. He knew what it meant to lose. But more importantly, he knew how to fight like someone who refused to disappear quietly. It was the kind of fight you felt in your chest before the first punch was even thrown. 2 men, 1 ring, and a title hanging in the balance. That's how it always was when Tony Canzoneri stepped through the ropes. On May 10th, 1935, the opponent across from him was Lou Ambers, a rising name with fast hands and something to prove. But Canzoneri wasn't there to pass the torch. Not yet. He boxed smart, moved when he had to, traded when he wanted. 15 rounds later, the decision was his, and with it, the world lightweight title was back around his waist. Another crown, another chapter. Canzoneri didn't sit on the win. He defended the belt, sharp as ever, showing he still had the timing, the fire, the edge. But Ambers wasn't the kind to fade after one loss. He came back, focused, tougher. In the rematch, he made the adjustments, and after another 15 hard rounds, the judges leaned his way. That set the stage for one more, both of them, knowing this was the end of the road for their rivalry. The rubber match. No more guessing, no more what-ifs. Just one final answer. They went the distance again, and again, the edge went to Ambers. 3 fights, 45 rounds, no knockouts, no shortcuts, just 2 fighters chasing the same goal with everything they had. Canzoneri didn't get the last win, but he gave Ambers the kind of fights that shape champions. That's how he always did it. Never ducked a challenge, never backed down from a name. And when the final bell rang, he stood tall, win or lose. Some fighters chase the spotlight, others just keep showing up. Fight after fight, year after year. That was Tony Canzoneri. Even after the belts slipped out of reach, even after the title shots stopped coming, he kept stepping into the ring. Not because he had to, because he wanted to. He never fought for another world title after 1935, but you wouldn't have known it by the names still lining up to face him. He beat world champions even in the second half of his career: Frankie Click, Baby Arizmendi, the great Jimmy McLarnin, and the dazzling Kid Chocolate. Names that echo through boxing history. Names that Canzoneri handled like a pro. He didn't always win, but he never gave in. His record tells the story. 137 wins, only 1 loss by knockout. 44 of his victories came before the final bell. That says something. You had to really beat Canzoneri to take him out, and very few ever did. Back then, things were different. In some places, even if you boxed your heart out and win the distance, no winner would be announced. That's where the newspapers came in, calling it how they saw it. Canzoneri picked up 4 more unofficial wins that way. The fans, the press, they knew what they were watching. A fighter who came to work, no matter the opponent, no matter the odds. Managed by Sammy Goldman, Tony's run lasted until 1939. He'd already done more than most ever dream of: multiple world titles, battles with legends, and a reputation that still sticks to this day. He passed away in Manhattan at 51, but boxing didn't forget him. They couldn't. He earned his place in the International Boxing Hall of Fame the way real fighters do, by showing up, lacing up, and leaving it all in the ring. In the end, Tony Canzoneri's story wasn't just about titles or scorecards. It was about a life spent in motion, feet dancing, fists flying, always ready for the next round. He didn't need to talk himself up. He let the ring do the speaking, and the echo of his fights still lingers in the corners of boxing history. He was the kind of fighter who belonged to every era: fierce, skilled, and always willing. Whether it was for a title or just for pride, Tony gave you everything he had. No shortcuts, no excuses, just the fight. Long after the cheers faded and the gloves were hung for good, his name still means something. Not just because of the wins, but because of the way he earned them. Tough fights, big names, honest work. That's how legends are built, not with noise, but with heart, and Canzoneri had plenty of it.